All right, so lesson 1-3, factors and multiples. This is part 2. Part 2, and we're talking about LCM, which is least common multiple. Okay? So your warm-up was to write down the definitions for each of these terms. Now a multiple is a product of a given number and another number. Okay, so a multiple is, for example, if I have 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, right? So 6 is a multiple of 3. 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 is a multiple of 3. Does everybody understand that? Okay? The least common multiple is the least non-zero number that is a multiple of 2 or more numbers. So once we write our list of multiples, then we can get the one that is the smallest, which is the least common multiple. So here you're going to write down list the multiples of 3. Now multiples, once again, is a number times another number that gives you a product. Okay, that product is the multiples. So if I want the multiples of 3, I'm going to do 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, and so on. Is everybody clear with that? So here the multiples of 3 would be 3 and 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Is that all there is? No, because I could do 3 times 8, right? I could do 3 times 9, 3 times 10, 3 times 11, and it goes on forever. So multiples, when you're listing multiples, they go on forever, right? When we were doing the factors of a number last class, it did not go on forever. We knew when we had to stop. So example 1 is find the least common multiple by using a list of factors. All right, so it says every 10th week, Tamika visits the zoo. Every 12th week, she visits the local pet rescue. If she visited both this week, we want to know how many weeks will it be until she visits both in the same week again. Okay. So the important information here is that she visits the zoo every 10th week, the pet rescue every 12th week, and we want to know when is she going to go to the same, go to both of them again in the same week. Okay. So what we're looking for is the least common multiple. Is everybody clear? So step 1. Let's write down step 1 is to list the multiples of each number. Okay, so the multiples of 10. The multiples of 10. And again, it's just 10 times 1, 10 times 2, 10 times 3, 10 times 4, and so forth, right? So we're starting with 10, then 20, and 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It goes on forever, doesn't it? So we're going to have to stop somewhere. So I'll just stop here. I'll put ... Okay? So this is like 10 all the way 10 times 8, right? So for the 12th week, for the pet rescue, let's see. We've got 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2, 24. 12 times 3, 36. 12 times 4, 48. 12 times 5, 60. 12 times 6, 72. 12 times 7, and 12 times 8, 96. And then again, it goes on forever. Is everybody clear? All right. So now, step 2, we're going to circle the common multiples, okay? So, common multiples we have, let's see, we've got 60, right? 60 and 60. We've got, that's it, huh? That's it. So, if I kept on going, would there be more? Yeah, there would be more. So, here, 60 is the least common multiple. Okay, so identify the least common multiple. The least common multiple is 60. So, how many weeks will it be until she visits both in the same week again? The answer is going to be 60 weeks. Is everybody clear? 60 weeks. All right, so I want you to do letter B, example B, with your table partners. We want to know what is the least common multiple of 6 and 8. And I want you to do this by making your lists. So step 1 is to write the multiples of each number, right? So you just do 6 times 1, 2 times 3 times 4 times 5. You do 6 times 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, and so on. And you just go until you think you have until you have enough to go by, right? So here, I went out all the way to 9, and then we circled what they had in common, and then you just pick the one that's the smallest. So the least common multiple is 24. So again, what if I asked you to do to find the least common multiple of 126 and 384? Are we going to want to do lists? No, we don't want to do lists. In that case, of course, we're going to use prime factorization, okay? So, how do you use prime factorization to find the least common multiple? This is how we do it. We multiply the prime factors using the common prime factor only once. In other words, you multiply what they have in common and everything else. So, I want you to write down that question, and you can write down either one of those, whichever one you understand better. All right, so example 2 is find the least common multiple by using prime factorization. Now, you guys remember how we did prime factorization? What am I going to use? What are those things that we did last week? Factor trees. Very good. We're going to use our factor trees to do this. And if you needed a little reminder, here, remember factor trees? Remember we did those? That's what we're going to use to do these, okay? So we just want to break it down to all of its prime factors. So how about 32? What can I break that down to? So this can be broken down to 4 times 8. Now, are those 2 prime? Not prime yet. I can still break them down, right? So we're going to break the 4 down to 2 times 2. And the 8 we can break down to 2 times 4. Very good. Are those prime? Not all of them. Which one can I still break down? The 4. So the 4 we break down to 2 times 2. And then don't forget to bring all of those 2's down. Okay? All right. So for 28, what can we do? We can break down the 28 down to what? 4 times, 14 times 2. We could do 4 times 7, right? So you want 14 times 2? Okay, 14 times 2. Are those both prime? Nope, nope. I can break down the 14 to what? 7 times 2. And then you want to bring down that other 2. Okay? So step 1 here is to get the prime factorization. Okay? Now we want to organize so we can circle. So we've got 32. This is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And then 28 is 2 times 2 times 7. And I'm going to put 7 all the way out here. Okay? So now we can circle what they have in common. So they have 2's in common here, and they've got 2's in common there. Do I have anything else in common? No, right? So what we're going to multiply to get the least common multiple is 2 times 2, so that's what they have in common. So you multiply what they have in common, and we multiply everything else. Is everybody with me on that? So to get the least common multiple, we're going to multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. So here we multiplied everything they had in common and everything else. Is everybody clear with that? So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that's 32, times that 7 out there, that gives us 224. Does everybody get it? So, once again, would you want to make a list all the way out to 224? That's the reason why we are using prime factorization. So, I want you to do this one with your table partners. Okay. It says, Grant buys bottled water and juice pouches for a picnic. There are 12 bottles of water in each case and 10 juice pouches in each box. Grant wants to buy the same number of waters as juice pouches, but no more than what he needs to have an equal number of each. We want to know how many cases of each should he buy. Now remember, you don't have to write the entire problem. You just write down the important information. And now, go ahead and talk it through with your partners. So the important information, let's come back together. The important information is that there are 12 bottles of water in each case, and there are 10 juice boxes in each box. Okay? We want to know, let's see, he wants to have an equal amount of each, and we want to know how many cases of each should he buy. Okay? So, let's start with 12 and 10. And we want to break those down. So 12, we can break that down to 6 times 2. And the 6 we can break down to 3 times 2. And then don't forget to bring down that other 2. So those are our prime factorizations for the water, right? And then we want to break down the juice boxes. So of course this 10 breaks down to 2 times 5. And those are both prime, yes? All right, so to find the least common multiple, let's see, we've got 12. This is 2. 2 times 2 times 3. Then 10 breaks down to 2 times 5. The thing that we have in common is that 2. And then we also want to multiply everything else. Everybody with me? So the least common multiple is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. So 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 15 is 60. So here we know that he wants to have 60 of each. Is that my final answer? No. Because the question says how many cases of each, right? So let me come down here. We want 60 waters, and we want 60 juices. How many do we have in each case of water? We have 12. So we want to know 12 times what gives me 60? 12 times 5. So we want 5 cases of water. Does everybody see that? And then for the juices, how many are in the juice pouches? There are 10 juice pouches in each box. So here, 10 times what gives me 60? Very good. So that's 6 cases of juice. Is everybody clear? So you have to remember, you guys, you have to remember that you have to answer the actual question. So the least common multiple was not your final answer. You had to use that to get to your final answer. Okay?